Welcome to our weekly 8FM book club. So thanks for everyone being on here. Alicia, Via, Don, Julianne, and Terry, thank you for being on. And we may have more people pop on. If you're watching the replay, thanks for being on the replay. And we are continuing with The Slight Edge. So we're into chapter 6 and 7. Don't Fall for Quantum Leap and The Secret of Happiness. And side note, Terry mentioned that going forward, we're probably going to do at least 3 chapters because there's a lot of chapters here, and we're going to be doing this book for a really long time if we keep just doing 2. So for next week, we'll do 3 chapters. But just going into this, we did touch on this last week, and I mean, the thing is that, you know, each chapter that he has, it kind of feels like it's the same information, right? But it's told in different ways, with different stories, with different focuses on different things, right? But the slight edge is, you know, just being consistent and doing small daily actions, and that's what's going to lead to results, right? And we did talk a little bit about this whole idea of, you know, that big breakthrough, or having, you know, this easy button that everyone wants, that, you know, everyone is waiting almost for some big break, right? And he talks about, you know, how in writing, people, you know, when they write, like, let's say a movie script or a play or something, and they don't know how to resolve the story, so they'll have some magical force come in and just fix everything at the end. Right? It's like God, or like, you know, it's like this, they have a term for it, and but it's not considered a good thing by critics, because it means that they couldn't come up with a real solution. So they just made up something that, you know, everything was just kind of solved easily. And the thing is, though, it doesn't mean that there's no such thing. There's actually a quote I wanted to read on page 128, at least in my version. This idea of what is a quantum leap really. And it says the term comes from particle physics, and here's what it means in reality. A true quantum leap is what happens when a subatomic particle suddenly jumps to a higher level of energy, but it happens as a result of the gradual buildup of potential caused by energy being applied to that particle over time. And last week we talked about the importance of time, and how time is a determining factor that changes everything, right? And that's why it's easy to not take the actions, because we don't necessarily see the negative effects of that right away, right? It's not like, you know, like, let's say we love cheeseburgers, like I love cheeseburgers, and, you know, if we eat a cheeseburger, usually, you know, we'll be okay. But if we eat cheeseburgers consistently every single day, there's going to be a point where it affects our health, right? But because it's not immediate on the most part. Welcome, Leslie. Thanks for being on.
Sorry for being late.
No worries. I'm happy you're here. So just was quoting from page 128 about what a quantum leap is defined as. And so it's, you know, this idea that time, you know, when we consistently apply our energy and our focus to something, time is that factor that can help us. And there's this funny point, though, where on the outside, what other people see is they may actually see a breakthrough. They may actually see something that appears as a quantum leap to them, right? But we know what we've done. We know the time we've put in. We know time has been there, and we put in that action and that focus. And so it's kind of like, you know, I shared this last week. It's like when you first start doing something, like you're implementing a habit or an action, it's almost like it's kind of your little secret. But you know that if you continuously apply that action, you're going to get a result, right? But other people may not see that yet. They may not see anything really happening, but you know it's happening, right? So I think that that's important. So that's what stood out to me. So if anyone wants to pop in, you know, what do you guys think of this chapter, or even the next chapter?
I think it's the magic to life, and I want to make my children read this book. It is so great. And I love the part in the next chapter on happiness, and especially, you know, when we get to be in this phase of our lives, and women with the empty nest syndrome, the kids are leaving the house, we're responsible for ourselves. I really like that part. It spoke to me. But that first chapter, chapter 6, that magic bullet and the miracles, stop looking for a miracle. Become your own miracle, you know? When I have teenagers, 20-year-olds, and they want to get rich fast, they want to be like Bill Gates. Well, Bill Gates put in 15 years in his garage or whatever he did. You know, he was doing it from the time he was 12. And then he became rich, and then he applied it. So that's exactly what you're talking about. It looks like a quantum leap. It looks like suddenly overnight, life miraculously happened. But he was coding from the time he was 12 or 13. Always had that mind. And so I thought I think this is a good book for people my children's age, 20-year-olds, young adults, to really see that this is how people make it. It's not by winning the lottery. I also love the statement about the lottery. Have you talked about that? You don't see rich people, you don't see bankers buying a lottery ticket. It's always the blue-collar guys or unemployed people who are buying the lottery tickets, because the people that have applied the slight edge have consistently done it, have made their freedom. I like the way he described life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness in chapter 7 too. But when you make your freedom, it's because you've worked for it, and you know that the chances of you hitting the lottery to make it big are not as great as the chance of, if you work 30 minutes every day, it's going to happen for you. It will happen if you don't give up. If you buy a lottery ticket every week religiously, you never know if it ever will happen for you. And I really kind of like that philosophy. I think that's, in this society where we teach our kids that everyone's a winner, I think we've forgotten to teach them that everyone's a winner who consistently tries and doesn't stop trying. We've missed that message as far as I can tell. So I really loved this. It made me want to make this required reading for my young adults in my family. Who's up next?
And he's made one as well, like rewritten it for young people as well. Yeah.
What's that? Has he done that?
There's a version there's a version for teenagers or young people, which I'm also planning to get very promptly for my
I didn't know that. That's awesome, Terry.
Yeah.
I'm going to look that up.
No, I'm excited about that too. That was awesome, Leslie. Love those reflections. I'll carry on. The chapter 7, the secret of happiness one, just like was so fantastic. That, like, you know, that explaining that it's like the slight edge is what is like the ingredient for success. But it's like he's like this, being able to be happy actually is like the slight edge on the slight edge. Like it allows you to actually be in the emotional state to do those slight edge actions. And I absolutely love that. And it's, you know, based around gratitude. And just, you know, he listed, you know, 5 really simple things, 5 happy habits that can just shift your emotional state into a state of happiness. And then you're going to follow through on those daily actions. I'll just read them out. Yeah. He just says, like, choose one of 5. Every morning, write down 3 new things you're grateful for. 2, journal for 2 minutes a day about a positive experience from the past 24 hours. 3, meditate daily for a few minutes. 4, at the start of every day, write an email or a message to someone praising or thanking them, some kind of gratitude expression. And 5, get 15 minutes of simple cardio exercise a day. So he's just like, choose one and follow that consistently. And then that will help your other actions. And one thing that just comes to mind is that, like he was talking about his mother, also reflecting on his mum, and that she never said negative things about people. And that was he really saw that as part of why she had happiness and also the slight edge. Like she was able to consistently take those small daily actions that's around her attitude and outlook to the world. And I remember when my grandfather died, one of the things my mum said at the funeral, I was really little, like I wasn't actually that little, but I'm just remembering it now. She said he never spoke badly of people. He never criticized people. And it just so stood out for me as a young person, just, respecting my elders and also taking like this life lesson of, it's such a non-happiness and non-healthy way to be in the world, to criticize and talk negative. And so as she was talking about that, I thought, yes, I really received that message early on from my grandfather and my mum, sort of recognizing that, to speak gratitude and positivity. It's kind of so simple, but yeah, so that had me reflecting on my own family as well. But absolutely love it and feel so, I just love it. He just breaks it down to so doable. Everything's just like, this is just makes so much sense. All right, I'll pass it over to whoever's wants to share.
Anyone want to pop out? Alicia, Ria, Don, Julian?
Okay, well, this book, especially chapter 6, it makes you focus in on things where you may not remember, but you've probably already used the slight edge in your life. And it kind of brings me back to when I was like 5 or 6 years old. I mean, I was a really crappy baseball player. I mean, I was afraid of the ball. I mean, I was bad. And I would always get picked last. And I got so focused that I went home after school every single day, and we had a ranch house. I would throw a rubber ball on the top of the house and catch it when it came off the house, and I would let it bounce so I could play it on the ground. And I made myself a better fielder to play baseball. So it's like day in and day out, I just kept doing that to the point where after a while, I was always the person who was picked first and the person who got to play like center field. Same thing with music. I played the trumpet, and I wanted to be the best. And I just went home and practiced and practiced and practiced. And I made all-county band when I was a senior in high school. So it's just like you take these things, even when I'm an adult. I was working in publishing. I said I have to change. I'm not up with everything that's going on. I went back to school. I got my master's degree. I did it at a high level of success. It's like you take these things and you're like, you implement, and then you read the book and you're like, wow, I've been doing this all my life. It's like, well, now I just have to take it and do it in this new business. And that's like nothing. I'm already doing this. So, it's got to succeed because I'm already in the mold of somebody who follows through with these things. So that's just what I got. And seriously, buying the lottery tickets, I was always like, that's just like money, throwing your money in the street. I mean, seriously. So waiting for the big hit, it's like lightning striking you. Okay, you're not supposed to go out in a storm because lightning might strike you, but then the odds that lightning will actually strike you are like 1 in 75 million that you're going to get struck by it. So same thing. You make your own opportunities. That's what it comes down to.
That's awesome, Don. Yeah, like what he writes in the end of the chapter, be the miracle instead of waiting for one. Wonderful. Thank you. And congrats on I was thinking of like the lottery thing, right? It's like, couldn't be the bad version of the slight edge because you can take that money and actually just save it. Right? More likely to have more money later on than just waiting for that ticket to hit.
And same thing with money. If you think about, like Einstein said, compounding is the most successful scientific principle ever, like compounding money. So it's the same thing. You put a little in, it builds, and then it builds on itself. And it's the same principle basically as the slight edge, compounding interest in like how you build your financial success.
Well, it's funny because the lottery is people putting money into it.
Right.
All of them. Yep. So they're all contributing to the slight edge of the jackpot of that winning. But then it's like almost impossible for, anyone to really bank on getting that, right? And so it's like kind of funny. Everyone's putting their money in there. That's why the jackpots sometimes are crazy. But anyway, Alicia, I know you wanted to come out. I don't know if you're free to come out. Wanted to share your thoughts.
Well, can I speak?
Yeah, I think Alicia's cutting in and out. For sure, Via, come on up.
Okay. What I got from chapter 6 was no success is immediate. And they also talked about it on the mastermind in Costa Rica, and it repeats now every time. David Wood also talked about it. It seems like some people are zoof at one momentum they come, and but that's not immediate. That immediate, it's the result of the slight edge, and that was why I do the daily actions. I know the results are coming, but I don't see them now. But I know they are coming, and that's why you talked about also, Kat. Just be consistent on it, and when you don't know it, but you know it will come. And he said no success is immediate, so that pushed me to do the daily actions every day. And he also talks about no hoping. Don't hope. That's what a lottery people do. They hope to win a prize, but by just taking the daily action steps, you know it will come, and that's not based on hope. So that was, and also the gratefulness in chapter 7. I was at a Euro Mastermind with Erica in Bucharest. Some people know that. And after that, we put on a Facebook group, and there are people who are welcome to be grateful, to share your gratefulness every day. So I think that's very important, because a lot of things we find it normal, but to say it every day, then you think, okay, we are grateful for it, and to count your blessings. So that's what I want to share with you today.
That is awesome, Via. And the funny thing is, it's like, I mean, you've grown your Instagram account like really big, right? And it happened in what? It was what was the time frame?
Well, I have now 10 accounts up and running, but yeah, I do it on automation, and I just saw the hangout from yesterday from a event team from Lawrence, and I also worked on Twitter a little a few months ago, so that's also growing. It's still growing, but it's putting in the effort at one time. So, and I know Don is also have a lot of followers. So,
and that's the amazing thing, because you have like a few thousand followers, and it took time and it took that consistency. But if you really look at big picture, it didn't actually take that much time, because that time could have passed and there could have been no followers, right? But because you put that time in and continue to, it's just going to get bigger and bigger. So it's like it's inevitable, right? And then you have that skill set where you can get better and better and faster at it too. And it's almost like chunking time where you can do more in less time, right? Like time is this incredible thing. So that's fantastic. And yeah, definitely gratitude. We have the same thing, with team members. We have daily actions, and one of them is, what are you grateful for, right? And I have like a gratitude journal as well. And I notice a difference if I stop writing for a while. It's like this funny thing where my mind will just start to focus on things that it doesn't have to focus on. I like that he wrote that, in regards to happiness, like how they're doing happiness studies versus personal development, how, if you ask parents if they want to have their children, go into personal development or to learn more about happiness, they'll choose happiness over personal development, right? And it's because we all want to be happy, but yet, the things that they both kind of work off of are the same. It's the same kinds of principles. It's just, I guess, personal development sounds like a lot more work, right? You're constantly developing yourself. Whereas happiness, that's something that anyone right away can relate to and wants, right? Because we ultimately, that's what we want. And I like how he wrote, that happiness is not an absence of sadness, which is what I guess a lot of people thought it was for a long time. But it's its own thing. It's something that you can nurture and develop. And really in personal development, aren't we really doing that? Aren't we really just increasing these good, positive emotions, positive attitudes that make us happy, right? And, I like that in the previous chapter, he was talking about the philosophy being that one key ingredient, and then, the actions, but he kind of added, from the right philosophy, you need the right attitude and then the right actions, right? It's like adding in that kind of secret formula, because he updated the book. And that attitude, based on this philosophy that we have of beliefs, our attitude can really change a lot of the things that we do and how we look at them. And that can, because the slight edge, it's just everything in our life. It applies to every aspect of our life. And it's something I think we all resonate so much, because we can look at our life and see the good stuff that we've done and created, and the not so good stuff, right? And we can look at the actions, we can look at our attitudes even, and we can see all the patterns and things. And it's so clear and simple and to the point. No one can argue against this, right? So Alicia, I don't know if are you able to come out and share?
Yeah, earlier you caught me where I'm usually walking the dead spots.
Okay, awesome.
I'm not sure. My copy's so old, so I don't have some of the updates. So mine might be, I might kind of be behind. But the biggest part that stood out for me was the big chapter, and we probably talked a little bit about this last time on like blame and responsibility, and how we talked about the past and the future with the different diagrams. It seems like whenever he says, okay, stop and think about your future looking down, and then stop and think about your, for 5 minutes. Like that was tough for me. And then stop and look up. It seemed like whenever you looked up, you always thought more about the future than when you were looking down. You thought more about the past. And that was just like a huge takeaway to me, going, how do I sit? How do I position my body when I do my meditation or doing my thinking? And I was like, I got to watch where my head is placed, because I might think more about the past or the future, and just be a huge impact on. My daughter just got here, so a huge impact on how you're thinking. So that was just my huge takeaway on this little section in here. So I wanted to share that little breakaway for me. And this book breaks it out back in sections for me. So part 2 is mastering your life.
No, it's different for me. Part 2 is living this life.
Not too far behind.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, it's funny because even I knew this from before. Like I heard it somewhere, when you're walking, and if you're really looking down, it's like being trapped in your head, and you're kind of going through maybe negative things, or in the past or whatever, like worrying. And so if you want to feel better, like if you want to start walking regularly, I love walking, you have to look up, and it can help you to kind of become a little bit more positive, not focus so much on those negative things, and we can kind of open up to other things and see different perspectives. Julianne, did you want to come out and share?
It's funny because I'm just listening to you guys all talk, and obviously I haven't been able to read this part yet, but for me, I have a master's in psychology, so let me tell you, I've done lots of self-development. I've done tons of analyzing, and so it's just listening to you guys. I'm like, all these books are all really honestly psychology. It's like I can tell you, I read like the 7 highly effective habits of successful people. I think that's what it's called. But but it's funny, I got that for my children. I have a teenage version of that too, by the way, Terry, which is phenomenal. My girls loved it. They read it when they were like teenagers, and like literally to this day they use it. But when I read this, I'm like, wow, there's elements to everything. Like all these books have the same kind of elements to them. When you read Cialdini influence, that's very much more analytical, like psychology, like a little more analyzed principles. But this still is like, it's the same thing. You wake up grateful, and what Dawn said really resonates with me, because when I was a kid, nobody in my family I was the first in my family to graduate high school, and I was determined to graduate high school and go to college, and I don't care what obstacle you put in front of me, it was going to happen. I mean, you could like literally throw any obstacle, and I was going to figure out a solution and going to make it happen. And it's like, and that's pretty much who I am throughout life. You know, once I decide I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it, you know? And it's funny what Dawn said resonated, because I'm like, well, why is it with some of this internet marketing, I feel like, or this internet kind of, you know, business, why do I sometimes feel like I don't have that same philosophy? And I think I finally figured out I had not found the passionate part of me in the internet side of things. You know, I was more listening to the people, and kind of like Erica did a post, and it totally hit home for me. Why am I looking at what other people are doing? I need to create what I want to do. It's great to learn from everybody, you know, and see what other people are doing, but I have to figure out what I'm good at. And like, you know, like the whole Tracy like thing, you know, in Momentum, that was phenomenal. You know, just really like, what's my skill set? What are the industries I'm good at? Like all of that. She kind of did that in Dallas too, but really more. So this book, just listening to you guys talk, it kind of resonates with me, honestly, like the happiness. Like I'm all about that. I wake up in the morning, and right now, you know, I'm headed for 3 Mexico trips, 3 trips in a bikini for like 30 days. So I'm going to get in my massive shape. And so literally every morning I work out like 3 hours a day. Like literally I work out, and it doesn't even faze me, like, because I'm so determined to look a certain way that I'll do whatever it takes to do that. I mean, like, it's like weird, you know, but all of a sudden I'm like, wait, and the whole 3 hours I'm thinking about, what am I grateful for today? I'm looking at, I like post things on Facebook, look, it's a sunrise, I'm grateful for it, because it just changes the way I feel about working out at the time. Does that make sense, you know? And you know, like, I don't know if any guys, I was like really sick for like a month and a half, like pretty really sick. That's the other reason why I wasn't around a lot. But like, it's weird when I got that sick, that same kind of internal like burn and fire. Like, I don't care what you tell me how sick I am. I'm going to figure this out and get through this. Like, it was just like all of a sudden it's almost getting sick. Rekindled a gratitude for life, a passion for life. Just anyway, so all the things you guys are talking about, I'm like, wow, this is like perfect, you know, timing. So, but yeah, anyway, I'm really glad I missed you guys. It's good to be back. And I will catch up, I promise.
I'm glad you're feeling better. We definitely missed you. So that's awesome. Yeah, it's I mean, I'm loving reading this book with you guys. Definitely love our discussions and just resonating, and it is information I guess we've seen. It's information that's in other books, but I just the way he puts it together, I love. So awesome. So what we're going to do is for next week then, it's going to be chapter 8, 9, and 10. So we're going to be getting into part 2. So we'll do 3 chapters, and yeah. So if you're watching a replay, if you have any like feedback or questions or comments, you can comment, and also you can join us live. So thank you everyone so much.
One last thing before we go.
We're just getting there. For sure. Yeah.
Just when we're talking about gratitude, it's just brought to mind that with my boys, like we've been doing, like when we sit down for dinner, we'll just hold hands, and then when we start eating, like we just take a few breaths, and then each person just shares something they're grateful for the day. And we've been doing this since my kids were like babies, and then, you know, like I've got a 3-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 12-year-old, and I just love it how they not only find one thing that they're grateful for, but they can't stop. You know, it's like when you're looking for something, when your mind's focused on what you're grateful for, like they come up with like 10 things for the day, because they can't, you know, it's just like they suddenly see all the beautiful things rather than what was tricky. So that's just something we do in our family, and I'm realizing just how important it is to keep doing that consistently, because we drop off at times, and that's helping their minds be in that space. It's a beautiful thing. It's just like reminded me.
That's
important.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's something I started doing too with Romeo a few years ago, and it like really just changes. And even hearing someone else's perspective. So if you have the ability, like Via was saying, even that Facebook group, seeing what other people are grateful for can also bring you out and kind of out of your head and look at different perspectives. And it can always help us to see something new, because there's always something to be grateful for, right? So I'm grateful for you guys. So thank you guys
I'm
so
grateful
much.
that I'm learning how to speak in my feminine language while I'm on the
And we need to hear Don. We need to have that balance. So it's fantastic you're here. It's good you can stand your ground.
Oh, we're all friends, so
Exactly. That's awesome. So thank you guys, and I'll see you guys next week on Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern with our next 3 chapters. So
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
guys.